Part 51. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 515. My name is Zhang San, and I am a middle-level member of the Dark World. Although I am at the middle level, I am different from other rubbish. I have a positive and courageous heart. To put it bluntly, I will climb up by any means necessary. In order to get the task of intercepting merchant airships, I killed 3 of my colleagues before I got this opportunity. I took over the newly released black technology Abyss Mecha from the Dark World. As long as I lead the team to complete this mission, I can climb up a little bit from the middle level. I heard that there are enemies of Little Black God in this merchant ship. If I help Little Black God get rid of the enemies, wouldn't I be able to join Little Black God's team? You must know that although the Little Black God is young, with his super high cultivation talent and the support of the Black God Association, he has become one of the top leaders in the Dark World. As long as he can step into the 3 disaster realms, he will be promoted to the top. While the Little Black God has not yet become a real boss, if you get on his carriage now, won't it become a luxury car in the future? Zhang San, who was sitting in the Abyss Mecha, was thinking happily, already imagining the beautiful days of sensuality and horse racing in his mind. Brother San. Brother San comes to his senses. Wake up! Wake up! Stop dreaming, the attack of the Abyssal Mecha has been blocked. Zhang San, who was immersed in his delusions, was interrupted by a burst of shouting. Ah! Zhang San was sitting inside the Abyss Mecha, looking outside through the screen, and his face turned dark. Sure enough, the energy cannon of the Abyss Mecha was dispersed by a burst of red flames. What's going on? Didn't the big guy say that the energy of the Abyss is invincible? Didn't the big guy say that there are very few people in Blue Star who can defeat the Abyss energy? Zhang San is a little confused. Could it be that he was deceived by the boss? Impossible. He hurriedly shook this idea out of his mind, thinking that it must be a coincidence, or the Abyss energy had not been condensed, and he would definitely be able to successfully defeat the airship next time. Thinking about it, he once again pressed his hand on a red button inside the Abyss Mecha. This button is an attack launcher. As long as he presses it, he can extract the Abyss energy from the hellfire in the center of the Mecha, condense it and launch it. Go out. Zhang San gently placed his finger on the red button and pressed it carefully, fearing that he would accidentally crush the button. At the same time as the red button was pressed, a faint black air emerged from the inside of the Abyss Mecha. The black air enveloped Zhang San, and a mysterious energy was drawn out of Zhang San's body and merged into the dark Mecha. All this happened quietly. Zhang San had no idea that this huge Mecha was driven by his health. Hoo ho ho. After Zhang San pressed the red button, his body suddenly collapsed and he collapsed on his seat. A thin stream of sweat broke out on his forehead, and his whole body felt like he was exhausted. Could it be kidney deficiency? Zhang San murmured to himself. Here we go again. Yejing, who was on the airship, stared at the dark Mecha not far away, and his face changed slightly. After a few seconds, it started again. Doesn't the machine need to rest? Let me do it this time. Zhao, who was standing next to Yejing, waved his golden shovel in the horizontal bar, walked up to Yejing in high spirits, and waved his hand, leave this little guy to me. He saw Yejing casually defeating the Abyss energy cannon, and thought that he could do it too, and he couldn't always let Yejing take the limelight. When Yejing saw Zhao horizontal bar taking the initiative, he shrugged his shoulders and said nothing. He felt that there was no danger. The right hand of the Abyss Mecha began to condense the Abyss energy. This time it took a longer time. Several black streams surged out from the hellfire on the Mecha's chest. They all gathered together, and a terrifying power like a mountain of high pressure emerged from it. This is. Feeling this abyssal energy that was several times more powerful than before, Zhao Xingbang's expression straightened, and he couldn't express the pain in his heart. Why was he so weak now when he was very weak just now? Do you think I'm easy to bully? Zhao Xingbang took a deep breath. The man couldn't say no. As soon as he gritted his teeth, his life force was drained crazily. The golden light on the golden shovel emitted, as if a true Buddha had arrived. Ba bang bang. Yejing just quietly watched Zhao show off on the horizontal bar and applauded silently. He knew that the golden shovel was very strong, but being strong also consumed his life force. Others don't know it, but Zhao Xingbang is really showing off with his life. How about I come? Yejing suggested from the side. He really couldn't bear to see the boy on the horizontal bar grow old. Need not. Zhao Xingbang firmly shook his head and refused. Are you kidding me? He always picks up the leftovers from behind. He is considered an outstanding person no matter what. He keeps following other people's plans and loses face. During this period of time in the Demon City, he had gained a lot of cultivation resources without giving anything, and he had been living in Gray's house. How could he, who was already arrogant, accept this? Originally, he kept this friendship in mind and looked for opportunities to repay the favor in the future, but now that the Gray family's airship was attacked, it was the time to repay the favor. Can he still watch at this time? Definitely not. Friends are something that will be lost if you keep asking for them. Then hold on. Yejing didn't try to persuade him anymore. Everyone has dignity and there's no danger anyway, so just give it a try. But why do I always feel like something is wrong? Yejing frowned and looked at the abyss mecha, feeling a little confused. Why was there only one mecha and one person? Is this an attack from the Dark Realm? Besides sensing this mecha, he did not sense any life breath, which means that there was only this one enemy around the airship. No way. Using a piece of scrap metal to intercept Gray's large air court, is it that the rich in the Demon City can't afford to lift a knife, or that these guys can't wield swords? There are many doubts. After all, the Edward family is also well known in Blue Star. It's too contemptuous to want to attack the Edward family's airship with such a thing? Or do they imagine the abyss energy to be too strong? Yejing looked at the lonely huge mecha not far away with a strange look in his eyes, wondering if this guy is a discarded child. Zhang San didn't know that he was the only one in this attack. The voice channel kept hearing the cheers of his brothers, which gave him great confidence. The brothers in the dark world are watching, and I, Zhang San, will definitely take the first credit this time. Come on, San. I'll give you a good health check when you come back. San, you must survive. We'll cheer you on in the lab. Idiot, you let it slip. The inflated Zhang San didn't hear the weirdness in the voice channel. When countless life forces were drawn out of his body and turned into the kinetic energy of the abyss mecha, a black light condensed with the abyss energy shot out from the right hand of the mecha. Boom. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 516. Here it comes. The black light shot from the front at almost lightning speed, and the incomparable annihilation power made Zhao Danggong pale. This seemed to be his first time to confront the abyss energy head-on, and he was a little flustered. He knew the power of the abyss energy, and he was also well aware of his own strength. However, just because he was weak, it didn't mean that the golden shovel was weak. The golden shovel was an invincible weapon that had been passed down for 1,000 generations in their Nuggets sect, and he hadn't detected the hidden functions in it until now. If the abyss mecha was a piece of scrap copper and iron, then his golden shovel was a priceless treasure. The golden light on the golden shovel was getting brighter and brighter, as if it was going to cover the sky and the sun. Kill it, Oli Ge. Zhao Danggong waved the golden shovel containing huge energy, and slashed at the black light like Yejing swung a sword. No, he didn't slash at the black light, but at the abyss mecha. Zhao Danggong planned to destroy the abyss mecha directly from the beginning, otherwise he wouldn't have consumed a lot of his vitality. If he just wanted to resist the impact of the black light, he only needed to open a dimensional crack. A golden light that cut through the sky shot out from the golden shovel. This golden light was very thin, like a hair. But this thinness easily cut through the space, and the edge of the originally pure golden light was covered with a layer of pure black space cracks. The golden light swayed through the sky, and the moment it came into contact with the black light, it cut the originally integrated black light into two halves, which was 3 times easier than cutting tofu. The broken abyss black light seemed to have lost control, split into two and passed through the airship up and down, and shot directly for several thousand meters before disappearing. How is it possible? Zhang San saw this amazing scene through the display screen, and suddenly jumped up from his comfortable seat, with an unbelievable look on his face, as if he had seen a ghost and couldn't speak. However, he was about to be really speechless. After the golden shovel cut through the abyss black light, it was as calm as the coastline, carrying the might of tearing the sky, and slashed towards the abyss mecha. Zhang San's eyes were filled with golden light, and the dazzling golden light stung his eyes. The breath of death enveloped him, and his face turned pale instantly. "Brothers, save me! Come and help me!" Zhang San shouted in horror on the voice channel, trying to find the brothers who came with him to attack the airship. However, the noisy voice channel fell silent. "Well, my mother asked me to go home for dinner." Zhang San was confused. "How is the data collection for this set of experiments? It still doesn't work. The condensation speed and power of the abyss energy are still too poor. It went wrong from the beginning of the hellfire. And at this stage, the abyss mech extracts too much vitality from the parasite, so it consumes too quickly. Alas, the obsidian mech is simpler. It can be used as soon as you sit on it without multiple tests. There is no way. The higher UPS have forced the abyss mech to be completed. Zhang San should be dead. What should we do with this unfinished product? Turn on the self-destruct device. Zhang San. Zhang San looked confused. What's going on? I know every word they say, but why don't I understand them together? The vitality of the parasite. Test product? Self-destruct device? What are you talking about? Zhang San asked dryly with fear. In the voice channel. I'm sorry, Xiao San. Originally, this task of collecting test data was not yours, but who would have thought that you would kill all 3 experimental subjects? There's nothing we can do about it. I'll treat you to a good health in my next life. A compassionate voice came from the voice channel, petrifying Zhang San on the spot. With the arrival of the golden light, a beeping alarm sounded inside the abyss mech. The self-destruct device has been activated, and the self-destruction will be completed in 10 seconds. In front of the golden light of the sky, the mech made of obsidian was vulnerable and was cut in half in a blink of an eye. The hellfire that provided energy in the center also dissipated under the pressure. The countdown is over. Start the self-destruction. A bunch of idiots. After a scream of grief that resounded through the world, there was a shocking explosion. The huge energy impact spread like a small mushroom cloud, and the turbulent waves swept away a piece of debris in the sky and blew towards the airship. Come down quickly. Seeing this scene, Yejing's face changed slightly, and he pulled up the shaky Zhao Danggong and retreated to the back. Damn, these guys in the dark realm are harming others and not benefiting themselves. Yejing cursed in his heart. He still didn't understand what this madman was doing. He drove an unfinished abyss mech to fight randomly and finally chose to self-destruct. Is he using his life to show how awesome he is? If you have the guts, don't self-destruct. Leave the mech for our board to learn from. The self-destruction energy of the abyss mech is very terrifying. It feels like it can overturn the entire airship. When Yejing just stretched out his hand to drag Zhao Danggong away and was about to set up defense, the surroundings of the airship changed. I saw a light-colored fluorescent screen appear out of thin air, completely covering the huge airship. The first level defense mode of the airship has been activated. When the energy shockwave of the self-destruction touched the fluorescent screen, the surface of the fluorescent screen was like a stone falling into the water, rippling, and the ripples became larger and larger. As the ripples rippled, the vibrations on the surface of the fluorescent screen became larger and larger, as if it would break in the next second. Now it's up to us who can hold on longer. But as the first level defense of the airship, it should be more powerful than self-destruction, right? The attack and defense lasted for half a minute before the aftermath of the Abyss Mecha's self-destruction was completely dissipated. Luckily I saved it. Yejing leaned on the deck and couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Although the aftermath of this wave won't cause much harm to him, it can cause huge damage to the airship. Once the empty boat is capsized, the entire ship and cargo will suffer. How many people can survive after falling from a height of 10,000 meters? I can't save this even if I want to. Not just people, the airship is also some cargo transported to the waters. If it were smashed, wouldn't the people on the ground be smashed into pulp? We started the defense after we finished fighting. How backward is this airship? Yejing muttered something, helped Zhao Xingbar up from the ground, and asked with concern in his tone, "Are you okay?" "Ha ha ha." Zhao Xingbang laughed loudly and looked relieved. "It's okay, it is indeed my golden shovel. It is so powerful. That scrap of metal is no match at all." He, who had been playing soy sauce all the time, finally had some effect. Although it would be the same with or without him, it still feels good to feel that I have contributed. At least it gives me some psychological comfort. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Buletin Bayet. Chapter 517. Are you alright? After the aftermath of the explosion of the Abyss Mecha ended, Gray hurried over and saw Zhao Danggong, who looked exhausted, and asked worriedly. This was his airship. Yejing and Zhao Danggong were both his guests. If anything happened to them on the airship, he would definitely blame himself. After Yejing helped Zhao Danggong up, he casually said, "He's fine, he just acted a little too arrogant." In any case, Zhao Danggong was a little too arrogant. It was an enemy that was easy to deal with, but he had to use a big move and made himself so tired. But he could understand that if they were friends, it would be best to give and pay at the same time, even if it was not equal. In this way, they would be like friends, not subordinates, or some kind of pity. Before, Gray was helping Zhao Danggong, and this time it was Zhao Danggong's turn to help Gray. Although it didn't mean anything, it could at least make Zhao Danggong feel better. After all, they are all of the same age, and they are geniuses. It's not a big deal to always be helped. They are not useless. Young people like Gray and Zhao Danggong are definitely the top of their peers, but they are now in contact with people and things of another level. What are young people of their age doing now? 99% of them are staying in the academy, either in the Magic City Academy, the Imperial Academy, or the other 5 major academies. Those young people in the academy either compete for the ranking in the school or the academy competition, and by the way, they are chatting with girls, enjoying their youth, and finally practicing. As for Gray, he was originally studying at the Magic City Academy after returning from the Lonely City, but after the White Whale Defense War, his route was derailed. It's not derailed, but directly took off. Following Yejing, he made trouble everywhere. After the Magic City couldn't afford to play, he ran to the moon. After the moon couldn't afford to play, he ran to Pluto. After playing on Pluto, he went to the geocentric space of Blue Star, and now he is going to the waters again. Is this still what a student should do? The same goes for Zhao Danggong. He was originally a wanderer, a tomb robber wandering in various cities. From lonely city to demon city, his desires could no longer be satisfied. In the end, he dug himself into the sea of stars. If he hadn't met like-minded friends, he would probably still be wandering in the sea of stars. The two of them had already deviated from the daily routine of ordinary students. If they were asked to go to the academy to study knowledge honestly now, it would probably be impossible. Thinking of this, Yejing couldn't help but sigh in his heart, and looked at the two of them with a complaining look, thinking that if it weren't for these two people taking him everywhere, he would still be enjoying his youth in the academy. He really made friends carelessly. I don't know if there is still a chance to go back to the academy for classes now. Let alone anything else, isn't the dean the boss of the Demon City Academy? Just find a time to ask him to arrange it. Why go back to the academy? Of course, it's to show off. There are too many big guys outside, it's not suitable for him to show off. It can also be said that he can't show off as much as them. Today he met a man called Black God, tomorrow he met a half-saint, and the day after tomorrow he met a great emperor. They have finished showing off. Now that I think about it, the academy is still suitable. At least they are all of the same age. If it doesn't depend on age, Yejing is confident that his strength can crush them. Hey, I guess the dean can't agree. How can a director of the board of directors return to the academy to be a student? Being a teacher is more appropriate. Yejing muttered softly and suppressed this thought first. Zhao Danggong's face was still a little pale. After he put the golden shovel back, he looked at Gray very calmly and said, "I'm fine. You should deal with the staff of your airship and arrange the work. Don't worry about us." Gray hesitated. In fact, he hurried over after turning on the first-level defense mode of the airship. He hasn't dealt with the follow-up problems yet. But if he goes to deal with the problems now, what about his friends? Yejing saw what Gray was thinking at a glance. He patted Gray on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Go ahead and do your work. I'll take Gray back to the room to rest." But there's no buts or nos, we're not children anymore. There's no need to keep such a close eye on us. Go to the airship and observe. There are many suspicious points in this attack. The Dark World may come back again. Yejing interrupted what Gray wanted to say. "Okay, I'll go there first. I'll come back to tell you after I'm sure there's no danger." Gray looked at Yejing with gratitude, then nodded to Zhao Danggong and left. He was also very anxious. Although this was not the first time he had followed the family's airship to the waters, it was always not good if something went wrong. This time, the Dark World's attack was so chaotic that it cast a shadow on his heart. Maybe the Dark World would have some follow-up measures, so he had to guard against them. In fact, he was a little confused. After all, the Edward family and the Dark Realm had no dealings with each other. But this time, some idle people came to mess with their family's airship, and even sacrificed an abyss mech to mess with them. Could it be that someone in the family had offended the Dark Realm and wanted to take revenge? Or was it targeting Yejing? After all, Yejing had also done things that he had repeatedly obstructed the Dark Realm. If it was revenge, it would make sense. However, this revenge was a little light. They didn't lose anything, but the other party blew up an abyss mech. Earn blood. Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. Let's ask Dad what happened at home recently. Gray shook his head and wailed in pain, "Why should I bear tremendous pressure that is not for my age?" After Gray hurriedly disappeared in front of the two of them, Yejing turned to look at Zhao Xingbar, who was leaning on him, and asked, "Can you still walk by yourself?" Zhao Xingbang's tone revealed a look of exhaustion, and he nodded and said, "I can walk." "So, what are you trying to do?" Yejing said angrily. "I don't want to owe you too much," Zhao Xingbang said lightly. It couldn't be said that he owed it, but he was just a little embarrassed. He walked towards the inside of the airship. Fortunately, their room was on the outside and could be reached within a few steps. Yejing's eyes were very sharp. He squinted and saw a silver hair on the top of Zhao Xingbang's head. He couldn't help but wonder, how long can you live? Do you know it yourself? Zhao Hanban's body stiffened, as if he had taken a breath of cold air. I haven't really thought about it, who knows how much health the golden shovel can extract. Brother, I wish you a long life. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 518. Gray was thinking about why the Dark World suddenly attacked them, and only sent out one Abyss Mecha. If it were to attack, wouldn't it be better to send out 10 or 100, at least it would make them unable to fight back. Force. But what's the big deal? Are you looking down on the Edward family? Similarly, Yejing was also thinking about whether he had been retaliated against. After all, he had a head-on confrontation with the Black God some time ago. Not only that, he also destroyed a hidden lair in the Dark World. If he was retaliated against, he would also say that of pass. However, asking a little guy who didn't even show his face to take revenge, is Kurakama mentally retarded, or does he look down on him? In fact, they all guessed wrong and it was just an accident. A very simple accident. The abyssal mechas in the Dark World are mainly powered by hellfire, which was just brought out by Emperor Wuxian from the inner space of the Earth. It is an unknown energy source that has just been obtained. Before the appearance of the Abyss Mecha, the Dark World was studying the Obsidian Mecha, but the Obsidian Mecha was driven by spiritual energy and was relatively weak. But now Hellfire continuously provides Abyss energy, providing energy many times higher than that of spiritual energy. This makes the scientists in the Dark World excited and crazy. It only took more than a month to develop the Abyssal Mecha. Different from the ordinary Obsidian Mecha, the Abyss Mecha uses Hellfire as its core, which continuously provides Abyss energy to the Mecha body. This newly released Abyss Mecha is expected to be about 5 times stronger than the Obsidian Mecha, and its attack power is more than 10 times higher. The only pity is that Obsidian Mechas can be mass-produced. As long as Obsidian can be provided, it is possible to build 10,000 Obsidian Mechas. Of course, there must be practitioners who can pilot them. But the Abyssal Mecha is different. The Hellfire brought back by Emperor Wuxian is limited. In addition to distributing it to various forces, a large part must be reserved for the use of his own semi-saints. Few of them can be used to drive the Abyssal Mecha. And little. But no matter how few, those scientific madmen still created the Abyss Mecha, which is still an unfinished product at this stage. Since it is a finished product, it naturally needs someone to test it. Originally, these scientific madmen had found 3 scapegoats to test the Abyssal Mecha. Who knew that Chen Yejing came out halfway and killed all 3 scapegoats? This pissed off those science geeks. You killed all 3 of the scapegoats I finally found in the blink of an eye, so what should I use? The angry science geeks arranged it directly for Zhang San. Don't you want the credit? Okay, we'll give you credit, as long as you come back alive. Without knowing anything about it, Zhang San became a test subject with an excited heart and trembling hands. Then he blew himself up. Therefore, it was unnecessary for Yejing and Gray to worry. This was just an experiment, and they happened to encounter the Edward family's airship. Of course, they didn't know it was an own incident. As soon as Yejing and Zhao Hanban entered the airship, they saw a petite figure rushing over. Xiao Qinglian rolled up a fresh green light and bumped into Yejing's arms. It hurt so much. This collision forced Yejing back several steps. Yejing pulled Xiao Qinglian out of his arms, dumbfounded, and wondered, "What do you want to do with all your anger?" Xiao Qinglian raised her head, with confusion on her delicate little face. "Didn't you encounter an attack? I'm here to help." She waved her white fist, with a cute and fierce look on her face. "There are people here who dare to make trouble. I'm really impatient. Watch me knock them all away with one punch. It's obviously a flower, So why does it fly away when you open or close your mouth? Who taught her bad things is a question. Yejing helplessly patted Xiao Qinglian's head and said, "The airship will be destroyed by the time you come. Don't worry, the troublemakers have been beaten away." Hearing what Yejing said, Xiao Qinglian couldn't help but look disappointed and muttered, "What a pity, I still want to show off my power. Why are the troublemakers so unbeatable? I want you to show off your power, but why don't you get hammered to pieces by an airship? With Xiao Qinglian's strength, she can smash through an airship with a single blow. Who dares to let her take action?" Yejing secretly rolled his eyes, looked behind her, and asked doubtfully, "Why are you alone? Where are Ai Xiaokui and Xiao Yan?" Ai Xiaokui was worried that something would happen to Xiao Yan, so she took her back to the room. Xiao Qinglian casually replied that she was reading a novel in the room. Who knew that the airship vibrated and startled her? When she saw the critical moment, she couldn't help but get angry and ran away irritably. When it comes out, it's like giving a lesson to those who make trouble. Unexpectedly, the troublemaker was beaten away without her taking action, which left her with nowhere to release her anger. "Forget it, I'll go back to my room and continue reading the novel." Xiao Qinglian waved her hand at Yejing and left dejectedly. She didn't know why, but during this period, she suddenly fell in love with Blue Star novels. Both the plot and the pretentiousness in the novels made her very happy. Unknowingly, I fell in love with it and spent the past 2 days at Ai Xiaokui's house reading novels. Thinking of the plot in the novel, Xiao Qinglian couldn't help but turn her head and glance at Yejing, wondering, "Why do I feel like you are the hero of the novel?" "For it." Yejing was speechless. "Have you ever seen a male protagonist as weak as me?" "That's right." Xiao Qinglian nodded in agreement. "Other male protagonists have many wives and concubines, but there are none like you. You are at best a male number 3, or a tool." After saying that, she turned and left. What the hell is going on? After walking into the airship, they arrived at the door of the two of them in a short while. Yejing looked at Zhao Danggong and asked, "Do you want me to ask Gray for some potions to increase your lifespan?" Zhao Danggong shook his head and refused. "No, I feel like I'm about to break through the Fate Realm. If I break through the Fate Realm, my lifespan will increase significantly. I won't say anything more. I'll go back to retreat and try to break through before reaching the water area. As long as you break through, you will still have a lot of lifespan to squander. As long as you break through to the extraordinary realm before squandering it all, you can have a virtuous cycle." Zhao Danggong thought so. Now it is impossible for him to give up the golden shovel. He can only start with his lifespan. "Then you. Come on." Yejing didn't know what to say to him. He wanted to remind him to save his life, but he didn't know how to say it. In the end, he kept all the words in his stomach. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 519. 1 month later. After a month of long journey, the airship has reached the water area. If you look out through the window now, you can only see a vast blue sea. During this month, Yejing also used the internet to get a general understanding of the basic information about the water area. How should I put it? The water area is quite special. The water area covers an area of approximately 500,000 square kilometers, or 500 million square meters. This is an extremely large number, almost the same size as the Earth in the previous life. However, of the 500,000 square kilometers, 98% is deep sea and only 2% is land. And this 1% is just a city with a population of 1 million. It is also the only city on the water. Shanghai City is located in the center of the water area and covers an area of 10,000 square kilometers. It is an artificial city. The permanent population of the city is less than 1 million, and the floating population is only 2 million. It is such a small city, but it has occupied the entire water resources. Although most of the water resources have to be transported to various regions across the blue star, what is left is enough to be divided among 1 million people. The water area is surrounded by a light curtain. After all, it is no longer a planet. The water area is also a wandering existence in the sea of stars. If it were not surrounded by a light curtain, the water in the entire water area would continue to be lost in the sea of stars, and it would not be long before it would be gone. Someone once broke a hole in the light curtain in order to cause trouble in the water area. It was just a small hole. It took a year for water to flow before it was discovered. In this year, only a few hundred tons of water were lost. Since then, from now on, no one will make holes in the water curtain. It's not that I don't want to break the light curtain in the entire water area, it's just that the movement is too big, and it's not something that 1 or 2 people can do. The light curtain in the water gathers the energy of dozens of 3 disaster realm bosses. If you want to completely break it, at least hundreds of 3 disaster realm bosses are needed. 103 disaster realms, there aren't that many in all blue stars, right? And this is just a thought. After all, water resources account for more than 10% of the entire blue star's resources. There are many forces sharing the spoils, who would appear to have nothing to do with their own resources. Even in the dark world, there are still people who want a share of the water. This time they came to the water area. The first point was to contact the Water Area Council to strengthen contact. The second point was the rumored Poseidon ruins. They heard that they were relics from the previous era and they needed to explore them. Another point is the problem of the dark world. During this period, the dark world has been taking more and more actions, and now they are all on the water. I don't know what they want to do. If there are no restrictions, the consequences may be disastrous. Well, but Yejing and the others can't do restrictions or anything like that. They can just investigate and upload the information they know back. So, this time it's still about tourism. Yejing was lying on the bed in the bedroom, scrolling through the information on his phone and muttering to himself. He was a little lazy. In the past month, he had been lying in bed every day with nothing to do. He was like a salted fish. Similar. You won't be sold as a salted fish by Gray, right? That would be bad. As Yejing thought about it, he heard Gray's voice coming from the microphone. Get ready. We are about to arrive at the location. Please be ready to disembark. Are you here yet? Yejing stood up from the bed, opened the door and walked out. As soon as he went out, he saw the door next to him opened, and Zhao Xingbang walked out of the room, rubbing his head. Hey, long time no see. Zhao Xingbang raised his hand and greeted Yejing. Haven't seen you for a long time. Didn't we just have dinner together the day before yesterday? Could it be that he was sleeping stupidly? Yejing looked Zhao horizontal bar up and down for a few times. This sloppy look was very annoying, and said speechlessly, do you want to go back and take a shower? With your dirty look, who would know that you are a member of the council? Diu, dead people. Yeah. Zhao Xingbang looked down at himself. His hair was messy, his clothes were dirty, and he smelled a bit since he hadn't been out. He smelled his body carefully, and sure enough, there was a rotten smell. Oops, I'd better go back and wash up. Zhao Xingbang hurriedly turned around and ran back. This time he had to face the water board. If he was so sloppy, it would leave a bad impression on people. It's so lazy. Yejing sighed, shook his head helplessly, then turned around and walked into the room. He didn't take a shower either. The airship rose and fell, and after many vibrations in a short period of time, it landed slowly. Finally arrived, Shanghai City. Standing on the outer plywood of the airship, Gray looked haggard, as if he had indulged in too much sex, but how could he indulge in sex on an airship? Is it true that the left and right hands are stronger? Is there anything interesting about the water? Next to her, Xiao Qinglian patted Yejing on the shoulder and asked curiously. Yejing looked down at Xiao Qinglian, who was staring at him with big eyes. He was curious about how she patted her shoulder. As for the water area, there is only one Shanghai city, so there shouldn't be any fun places. Yejing hesitated for a moment and then replied, "Who is here to have fun? He came here to work, and this time he had a heavy workload, so he had time to play, just go shopping and stuff like that. You bumpkin, what's there to do in Shanghai city? Why don't you go to the water to play in the water?" Xiao Qinglian stared at Yejing with disdain. Playing with water? Yejing was slightly stunned. Swimming? Surfing? Or fishing? How to swim? With his current physical strength, it doesn't matter even if he swims around Shanghai city. With his current speed, can he take 1 minute to swim 10,000 meters? Is this still a folk sport like swimming? But he is still a little interested in surfing, not the small waves of 10 or 100 meters, but the big waves of thousands of meters rushing straight into the starry sky. I just don't know if I can encounter waves of tens of millions of meters in this time period. If I can, it would be fun to go and surf. Forget fishing, he doesn't want to sit on the beach for a few days, that's a waste of time. Besides, this is not fishing at all. The number of monsters in the water area is dozens of times more than that in the Kilin Mountains. Let alone fishing, maybe you can catch a supernatural monster by throwing a fishing rod casually, and then there will be trouble again. In general, Shanghai city in the water area may not have much fun, but the classic of the water area is that there is a lot of water. Who doesn't play in the water when traveling to the water area? Let's wait until we are free, and then I will take you to the beach to play, Yejing said. Who do you think is a child? We will go play by ourselves, Xiao Qinglian stepped on Yejing and said with a glare. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Buletin G. Bayet. Chapter 520. Okay, let's get off the airship. Gray led a few people to his side. He had been to Shanghai city a few years ago, and he also came with an airship. At that time, he was still young and didn't know what business was, so he didn't participate in the work at that time, but just had fun. Now it's different. This time he will negotiate the business himself and transport all the scheduled business to the airship. Although everything has been negotiated, he still has to go to inspect and accept it. The airship has landed, and a long pure white ladder appeared in front of them. Let's go down first. Gray took the lead and walked down alone. Yejing and Zhao Danggong followed closely behind. After all, this is someone else's territory. They are not familiar with the waters at all, so it's better to let Gray lead the way. Behind Yejing is Xiao Qinglian. As she walked down, she looked around, but with her height, she could only see the plywood walls on both sides, which made her very annoyed. Ai Xiaokui walked down slowly holding Ji Qingjian's hand. If she hadn't held Ji Qingjian's hand, the little girl would have run away long ago. Unlike Yejing and the others, Ai Xiaokui and Ji Qingjian really came to travel. They had no jobs and no strength like Xiao Qinglian, so they could only play honestly. But with Ji Qingjian's temperament, as long as she didn't make trouble, it would be fine. Ai Xiaokui rubbed Ji Qingjian's little head and whispered, "Don't make trouble for the brothers, they still have jobs." Ji Qingjian nodded repeatedly in response. She patted her chest like a plane and said confidently, "Don't worry, I'm an adult, and I will definitely follow you honestly." "No, you are not an adult, you are a big child." When they got off the airship, the full view of the airship center of Shanghai city was exposed in front of them. The airship center of Shanghai city is located on the coastline, opposite the endless ocean. In addition to the airship center, there are also cargo ports and ship lanes on the coastline here. The cargo port is home to hundreds of large commercial ships full of cargo, while the ship lane is home to large cruise ships used to support water tourism projects. The airship center is home to commercial airships of various forces traveling between Blue Star and the waters, either to sell goods or to purchase goods, no different. After they got off the airship, before they walked out of the airship center, they saw a group of people holding a large sign, as if welcoming, or as if they couldn't find anyone. The white sign was printed with black fonts. Welcome Yejing, the director of the board of directors, to the waters. Are they looking for Yejing? After all, among their group, only Yejing is a director of the board of directors, while Gray and Zhao Danggong are just staff members. However, this makes Yejing a little confused. He is a director, but there are also directors in the branch of the board of directors in the waters. Is it necessary to make such a scene to pick them up? Could it be that the status of the directors of the Water District Council is not high, not as high as his status as the director of the Demon City? I guess so. After all, the Demon City is an important city on Blue Star, and the Shanghai City in the Water District is just an ordinary city with a special point. Just like a special administrative region, the directors and the city lord are in charge of the Deep Sea City, but the council has the right to completely remove them with one vote. Let's go over there. Yejing, who was walking behind, saw the sign and pushed Gray in front of him and walked towards the group of people. Hey, it's better to keep a low profile. This is their territory, Gray whispered in Yejing's ear. Yejing nodded. Don't worry, I understand. He is not arrogant. The ordinary is the truth. He works honestly and finishes honestly. Then go home. Yejing walked a few steps to the group of people, and said to them with a smile, I am Yejing, the director of the board of directors. Who is the person in charge? A middle-aged man in a black suit came out from the group of people. He looked very ordinary, just like a passerby on the street. The middle-aged man in a suit walked in front of Yejing, extended his hand respectfully, and said, I am the secretary of the director of the branch of the Water Council. Director Ren is busy and can't get away. I can't come to pick up Director Yejing in person. I'm really sorry. This kind of respect made Yejing a little uncomfortable. Is this the difference in status? Yejing smiled and shook the middle-aged secretary's hand. The touch of thick calluses on his hand made him slightly stunned. People nowadays actually have calluses on their hands. Fortunately, Director Ren didn't come, otherwise I really don't know how a junior like me should deal with it, Yejing said with a smile. Director Ren? Who is that? I don't know. But it's still a bit embarrassing to let someone who may be several times his age to pick him up. The handshake was done as soon as it was touched. He was not used to shaking hands with men. After Yejing released his hand, he turned sideways to introduce the person next to him. This is Gray from the Edward family. He is also my friend. We are here to work together this time. Edward family. The middle-aged secretary was slightly stunned, and then his expression became more respectful. He bowed to Gray, welcome young Master Gray to the waters. Our family's business is thanks to the care of the Edward family. The secretary's family is not big, and some of them are engaged in the business of magic beasts in the waters, and their supplier is the Edward family. After all, Edward pays, so it's okay to be respectful. It is just a joke to say that the Edward family is selling salted fish. There are many kinds of magical beasts in the waters, and it is the job of the Edward family to transport the magical beasts out of the waters and sell them to the entire Blue Star. Every year, this secretary family earns hundreds of millions of spiritual stones from the Edward family. Gray waved his hand casually, I'm just here to play, don't worry about me. Yes. Except for the two of them, the rest are passers-by. There is no need to introduce Zhao Danggong and Xiao Qinglian. Where to go next? Yejing looked around at the people coming and going and asked the middle-aged secretary. The middle-aged secretary made way and said, "We have prepared the best guest meals, let's go and eat first." "Well, I'll listen to your arrangement." After getting on a luxury car with the middle-aged secretary, everyone set off from the center of the airship to the center of Shanghai City. The ordinary buildings along the way made Yejing a little disappointed. Is it really just an ordinary city? I haven't been to Shanghai City for several years, and there hasn't been any change. Gray looked out the window and whispered. What changes can a city have in a few years? Yejing replied. About an hour later, the luxury car arrived in front of a high-end hotel in Shanghai City. Yushin Hotel. Let's have dinner here. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 521. After a full fish dinner in the hotel, the middle-aged secretary did not take them directly to the Water Resources Council, but arranged for them to stay at their residence first. After all, there are girls and children in this group. Since they can't work, they should arrange their accommodation first. On the way, the middle-aged secretary explained, "We, Director Ren, are currently dealing with some important matters, and we have to wait for a while to have time to receive you. Let me arrange your accommodation first." Yejing asked casually, "Is Director Ren the boss of your Water Resources Council?" The middle-aged secretary smiled and said, "Logically speaking, it should be so. After all, the water area is only so large as Shanghai City. There are very few places that need to be managed. All resource transactions are handled by each family themselves, and there is no need for management. So one director is enough." Along the way, the middle-aged secretary told them about the structure of the Water Resources Council. The Waters Council is not big either. There is only one director, Director Ren, and below him are two deputy directors, who are in charge of all affairs of the council. Below the two deputy directors are the directors of each office, and I am, in addition to being the secretary to the directors, he is also the director of the secretary's office. So small. There are less than 10 people in this management team. Can such a small number of people manage the water area well? The two deputy directors should be like Gray and Zhao on the horizontal bar, right? Gray and Zhao Xingbang are now considered director candidates, and the two deputy directors next to Director Ren are probably also director candidates. From this point of view, the personnel on both sides are almost the same. On the Magic City side, there is one director, Yejing, and two deputy directors, Gray and Zhao. Shui Fang has one director named Ren and two unnamed vice directors. After Yejing thought deeply, he continued to ask, with just such a small number of people, will it be very busy at ordinary times? Although there is only one city in the water area, it has a population of 1 million. Can they manage it with just a few people? Yejing expressed doubts. Hearing Yejing's question, the middle-aged secretary couldn't help but smile bitterly. He didn't know what he was thinking of, but his expression turned bitter. After sighing a few times, he said, "Actually, in Shanghai City, the role of the council is really not that big. The one who really controls Shanghai City is the City Lord's Mansion." City Lord's Mansion. Yejing raised his eyebrows. What's going on? The council has been emptied. The Waters Council is usually parachuted in from the Federation Council. Director Ren only took office in the water area this year. He may not have enough control over the water area, but with the world's #1 federation behind him, he will not be ignored by the City Lord's government. Bar. It's not too far-fetched. The middle-aged secretary smiled bitterly and said, "The City Lord's Mansion of Shanghai City is a hereditary system and has existed since the establishment of Shanghai City. Compared with the council's background in the waters, the City Lord's Mansion has many times more control than the council. People in Shanghai City are more willing to go to the City Lord's Mansion to do things than to come to the council. Over time, the council has become a decoration, while the prestige of the city lord's mansion is getting bigger and bigger. I see. Yejing squinted his eyes and murmured to himself. He originally thought that this job would be simple, but he didn't expect that there was such an inside story, the overly prestigious city lord's palace and the almost empty council. This gave Yejing a headache. If the council has no power at all in Shanghai City, then it will be difficult for him to continue his work. After a few seconds of silence, Yejing looked up at the middle-aged secretary beside him, frowned and asked, "What is the highest level of combat power in the city lord's mansion?" Now that there is a faint feeling of opposition, it is still necessary to learn more about the strength of the city lord's mansion at this time. If the gap in strength between the two sides is too large, Yejing will turn around and leave without hesitation. There is no need for him to try desperately to complete the task. If the gap in strength between the two sides is not large, then we need to think in detail about how to resolve it peacefully. Gray and Zhao Xingbang, who had been listening with their ears pricked up, were also very curious. They did not expect that there would be such a bloody thing in Shanghai City. The highest combat power. After thinking for a while, the middle-aged secretary replied, "It should be the city lord of Shanghai City's city lord's palace. He is at the peak of the extraordinary realm, and there are rumors that the city lord will soon break through to the three-disaster realm. I'm not sure about the others. To be specific, there should be more than a dozen transcendent realm people gathered in the city lord's mansion." After the middle-aged secretary finished speaking, his face darkened. There were more extraordinary people in the city lord's mansion than the management of their council. The peak of the extraordinary realm. Is it just the peak of the extraordinary realm? Only the pinnacle of the extraordinary realm? However, after the middle-aged secretary finished speaking, Yejing and the three of them had the same reaction. They all breathed a sigh of relief and subconsciously said what they were thinking. Zhao Hanbang, who almost wanted to back down, became arrogant when he heard that the most powerful city lord was only at the peak of the transcendent realm. A rural place is a rural place. What's so scary about someone at the pinnacle of the transcendent realm? Really, it's just scaring people. Gray patted the middle-aged secretary's shoulder very grandly and said with great pride, "Don't worry, we are just at the pinnacle of the extraordinary realm. Our Edward family still has some respect in Shanghai City. If their city lord's mansion doesn't know what's going on, this time we destroy them when they come." Yejing, who was about to say something, couldn't help but look at the arrogant and domineering Gray and Zhao beside him with a dark face. "I thought that what I wanted to say was said by the two of them first." Besides, Yejing glanced at them unhappily. When did they think that the peak of the extraordinary realm was weak? Why did they think that the peak of the extraordinary realm was weak? In other words, what gave them the illusion that the peak of the extraordinary realm was so strong? To be honest, the city lord could kill them all with just one finger. Yejing sighed secretly. The experience during this period made Gray and Zhao Danggong drift, and they had already drifted to the sky, shoulder to shoulder with the sun. The arrogant remarks of the three of them made the worried middle-aged secretary a little confused. He didn't know why they said that. The middle-aged secretary looked at Yejing and the other two with strange eyes. Why did the three people who had just entered the Destiny realm look down on the big guys at the peak of the extraordinary realm? He didn't put his eyes on Xiao Qinglian in the last row of seats. After all, no one would think that such a cute little lowly would be a big boss. It was because of Xiao Qinglian that they felt at ease. With Xiao Qinglian's strength, even the ordinary three-disaster realm are not her opponents, let alone the city lord's mansion. Those extraordinary realms of the city lord's mansion are vulnerable in front of Xiao Qinglian. Sure enough, it's better to have strength. Having strength means having confidence, and having confidence means having a reason to continue the negotiation. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 522. The residence arranged for them by the Watershed Council is an independent villa located in the center of Shanghai City, Very close to the council, only a few miles away. Similarly, it is very close to the council and the city lord's palace. The two power agencies that control Shanghai City are only separated by a few streets. Not only that, as long as you stand on the third floor of the villa and look towards the direction of the city lord's mansion, you can see the luxurious buildings of the city lord's mansion. However, it is just the city lord's palace in an independent city. For the people of Shanghai City, it may be very luxurious, but for them who come out of the demon city, it is very ordinary. It cannot be said to be ordinary. After all, it is Shanghai City. It is the most luxurious building in the city. To say it is ordinary is too arrogant, so let's call it ordinary. This is it. This villa belongs to Director Ren. When we learned that you were coming, we had already sent people to clean it. All the daily necessities were replaced with the latest ones. We also hired 3 maids and 2 cleaning maids. A chef. After the car stopped, the middle-aged secretary got out of the car first and opened the door for Yejing and others, which made Yejing a little embarrassed. The last person who opened the door for him was Gray's little follower, whose name he had forgotten. In front of them was a 3-story retro villa covering an area of about 500 square meters. To be honest, such a small villa was far from the Gray family's manor. But there is nothing we can do. This residence is already considered top-notch in Shanghai City, so we can't ask for too much. Before Yejing could say anything, Zhao Xingbang stepped forward and took a look at the small villa, then turned to Gray and asked, "How is it? Can you live there?" Gray curled his lips, with a trace of disdain in his eyes, and said in a calm tone, "Let's just live with it for now." This posture, this look, this tone, he was a rich second generation. He looked at the middle-aged secretary serving on the side with an embarrassed look on his face, and thought to himself, wasn't he quite elegant and easygoing just now? Why did your attitude suddenly change? When did it change? It seems like it was when I heard that the highest combat power of Shanghai City is only the peak of the extraordinary realm, right? Do they look down on Shanghai City? Impossible. Several thoughts flashed through the middle-aged secretary's mind, and then he shook them out of his mind. How could such an unrealistic idea be possible? How could a few young people from good families have the guts to look down on the Lord of Shanghai City? Isn't this a joke? It seems that after approaching the city, his true nature was revealed all of a sudden, which made the middle-aged secretary a little distressed, not knowing how to serve these young ancestors. Needless to say, there are only 3 vases for the little girls behind them. But these 3 young men were not something he could afford to offend. One is Yejing, the youngest director of the board of directors. Although I don't know why this young man is qualified to become a director, what is his status? Gray, the eldest son of the Edward family, the boss of another water channel, is even more difficult to mess with. Half of the families in Godsea City depend on him for a living, even his own family. He didn't know the last one, but if he could hang out with Yejing Gay, he must be a rich second generation, right? If such a trio causes trouble, he cannot bear the responsibility. The middle-aged secretary was extremely distressed. In other words, Yejing and the others didn't know what the middle-aged secretary was thinking, otherwise they would probably laugh out loud. Is the peak of the extraordinary realm very strong? To be honest, I'm not looking down on you, but I've seen it too much and it's no longer an exception. Take a look at what they are exposed to during this time. The permanent directors of the council, Dean of the Demon Academy and Anthony, Wuxian, the boss of the Dark World, and even the 3 of them killed the flaming dragon in the 3 disaster realms. In front of these big guys, the city lord of Shanghai City really doesn't look good enough. Why are you so honest after just getting off the airship? At that time, I didn't know the strength of Shanghai City. I always had to keep a low profile on other people's territory, otherwise I wouldn't know how I would die. But that's different now. They knew that Shanghai City's high-end combat power was only at the peak of the transcendent realm. They had seen too many of the three disaster realms, and they could no longer fear it. Maybe you can't fight, but you can definitely escape. This is what they think. What's more, they also carry a big killer weapon. Who knew that a cute little loli in this group of people turned out to be the ant in the three disaster realms? With Xiao Qinglian in charge, they had enough confidence, and Zhao Hanban and Gray suddenly became arrogant. Gray crossed the middle-aged secretary in 3 or 2 steps, pushed open the door of the small villa, and walked in with a straight step, followed closely by Yejing and others. Let's live here first. After these 2 days, I'm going to buy a beachside villa. If you don't live by the beach when you come to the water, what's the point? Gray said in a tone that said he was not short of money. 3rd floor. Entering the small villa, Yejing looked around the villa. The 1st floor was the living room and kitchen. There were incomprehensible paintings and decorations on the walls. They were not gorgeous, and the price was probably not too high. I guess Director Ren has already taken all the valuables away, right? If you put a pile of scrap metal in front of them, don't you think we don't know how to appreciate it? Yejing thought to himself. We will live on the 3rd floor, and you 3 will live on the 2nd floor. Xiao Qinglian said a word, and without looking at Yejing and the others, she directly pulled Ji Qinjian and ran to the 3rd floor. The turbulent look made people laugh and cry. Ai Xiaokui was very polite. She thanked the middle-aged secretary first before going upstairs. This girl's personality has exploded. Now she is almost a nanny. The 3rd floor was left for Xiao Qinglian and the others to live in, so the 3 men could only live on the 2nd floor. When is the time for Director Ren you mentioned? Sitting on the sofa, Yejing took a long breath, looked at the middle-aged secretary with a charming smile, and asked. He didn't understand why the secretary was so humble. Did the Magic City warn them to treat them well? Or did the Water District Council ask them for something? All good intentions may have ulterior motives. Yejing didn't believe that the Water District Council would be so polite and flattering to them, who met for the first time, and he secretly kept a watchful eye in his heart. If there was something to ask for, it must not be a good thing. Either it was impossible to handle it, or it was impossible for them to do it with their ability, and then we happened to come and were ready to push it to us. But we can't guess anything here. We still need to meet Director Ren to know what happened in the water area. Right now, the information is insufficient, and they don't know what the problem is in the water area. Yejing decided to meet Director Ren first. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 523. This is the first day in Shanghai City. Apart from getting a little information from a secretary, I don't know anything else. It should be considered that my ears are closed. In this case, it is impossible to start work. Night fell, and the stars filled the sea. At about 6 o'clock in the evening, Yejing greeted Gray and Zhao on the horizontal bar and prepared to go out. It's not just for fun, but because I want to find out the specific information about Deep Sea City. Hearing is false, seeing is true. No matter how much others say, it is still what others say. What they hear from the middle-aged secret master is one thing, and what they may hear from others is another thing. The middle-aged secretary was also considered a member of the management in Shanghai City. Next, they had to collect information from ordinary people, and only after corresponding in pairs could they know what he wanted. Unfortunately, they were stopped before they could go out. Xiao Qinglian blocked the door, holding her waist and staring at the 3 young men, feeling like a housekeeper. Tell me, Yejing, what are you going to do with these 2 losers? Are you going to have fun and have fun? Xiao Qinglian clenched her fist, her white and tender fist trembling, as if she was about to smash it out in the next second. Xiao Qinglian, who was a little angry, looked at Ye Jing with cold sweat on her head, fearing that she would accidentally smash her into the wall. Ye Jing squinted at Gray and Zhao on the horizontal bar next to him, only to find that the two men had already taken 2 steps back in a tacit understanding, obviously pushing him out to solve the problem. I wouldn't have thought about it even if you didn't tell me about living and drinking. Ye Jing scratched his head and gave a wry smile. He was still waiting to do business, so how could he have such random thoughts? Then you have to take me with you when you go out. Xiao Qinglian rolled her crystal clear eyes and made her request. Ha, this is what she really thinks. Ye Jing shook his head and said as if coaxing a child, next time, we have business to go out tonight. What's the matter? Ye Jing, dot. He pondered for a long time and couldn't figure out what his business was, so he stopped making it up and said directly, it's business anyway, so don't worry about it. If you want to go out to play, just take Ai Xiaokui and Xiao Yan with you. Let's go shopping together, okay? Shop. Xiao Qinglian's eyes lit up and she ran upstairs on her short legs. Wait a minute and I'll call them out. Wait. No kidding. After Ye Jing saw Xiao Qinglian running upstairs, he hurriedly dragged Gray and Zhao horizontally and ran out of the villa. After going around 2 streets in one breath, they stopped. Is this really good for us? After stopping, Gray said hesitantly. If the little ancestor is thrown away now, he will not necessarily suffer much when he goes back. Ye Jing sighed, I can't help it, there is a girl following me and I can't use it. You don't really want to go to the world of entertainment, do you? Zhao Hanbang looked at him suspiciously, his expression moved slightly, and he seemed to be a little moved. Let's take a step and see. Ye Jing turned to look at Gray and asked, don't your family have a company in Shanghai City? Take us to find out. Gray hesitated, the company does, but I don't know if I'm off duty now. It's already 6 o'clock in the evening. Even if the company isn't off work, there aren't many people around. Gray thought about the location of his company in Shanghai City. He couldn't think of it for a long time, so he finally had to pick up his phone and search the map. The company is not far from here. It is also in the city center. It takes about half an hour to walk. Do you want to go? Go and have a look. The 3 people shuttled among the pedestrians and followed the navigation system towards Edward Company. It is said that Shanghai City is not big, and the population density is also the same. A city with a population of 1 million cannot be compared with the Demon City. Even at the current get-off point, the streets are not full of pedestrians. If the Demon City is a super large city, then Shanghai City can be considered a medium-sized city if it is full. Maybe it's just a few times bigger than Gukan. This makes Ye Jing and the others a little puzzled. After all, it is the only city in the water. Any random flow of resources from the endless water is enough to build Shanghai City into a city that is not weaker than the Demon City, right? But why is the city still so small? The only city that sits on the entire water body has only 2 or 3 times the population of Lekang, the most remote city in Blue Star. Its highest combat power is only the city lord at the peak of the transcendent realm. This situation of unequal resources and city strength is very strange, and even, a bit misshapen. To be honest, even if Shanghai City is the same size as Demon City, they will think it is reasonable. But now Shanghai City is just such a small city, which is unreasonable. Where have all the endless resources gone? Why can't we raise a Shanghai City? Ye Jing suddenly had a bold idea in his mind. If I were the lord of Deep Sea City, I would enrich my own pockets. Pooh. Building a city must be 100 times better than the current one. The thought just appeared for a moment before he shook it out of his head. Don't dare to think. Don't dare to think. On the first day after arriving at someone else's house, you want to steal it. This is so unreasonable. If you let the other person know about it, you shouldn't be so angry. However, he wanted to suppress this thought, but he couldn't suppress it no matter what. Is he qualified to become the city lord of Shanghai City? In fact, in terms of status, he is still qualified. After all, he is a director of the Blue Star Council and has a good relationship with the Dean and Anthony. Apart from his identity, there is nothing he can do, at least his current strength is not enough. However, perhaps in the face of status, strength may not be important. He has a little Qinglian beside him, which can also be regarded as his strength. Would you like to try being a city lord? Yejing walked slowly on the street and couldn't help mumbling to himself. Forget it, let's get to know this deformed city first. Half an hour later, they stopped in front of a 20-story high-rise building. The shiny silver-white building was obviously finely decorated. Such a building is located in the center of Shanghai City. It is estimated that it does not cost hundreds of millions. Not coming down. The name of the building is also very simple. The Shanghai City branch of the Edward family. This is the only stronghold of the Edward family in Shanghai City. They just need a central location. Most of the goods in the water are in the warehouse on the coastline. Purchase and sales documents and business negotiations will be conducted in this building. After everything is negotiated, the goods in the water area will be shipped out of the water area through the Edward family and sold to all parts of the Blue Star, thereby charging high channel fees, handling fees, etc. Such was the business of the Edwardian family. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 524. Business is nothing more than a circular industrial chain, but just this industrial chain has made the Edward family full of resources. Acquisitions, sales, reacquisitions, resales, repeated endlessly, more and more resources, and the family is getting bigger and bigger. In theory, at least if the water area is not emptied, their family will become more and more powerful. Is this still a salted fish seller? Not only did they get water monsters from the waters to sell to Blue Star, they also purchased goods from Blue Star and sent them to Shanghai City. In other words, they made money twice in one formal business. For the first time, Water Monster is sold to all Blue Stars. For the second time, Blue Star sold its goods to Shanghai City. It's just that because of the scale of Shanghai City, you can't make much money from the second sale. But what if Shanghai City is as big as Demon City? Wouldn't it be twice as happy? Well, Yejing found another reason to build Shanghai City. For such a city with unlimited resources, it should be as large as the Magic City. The current Shanghai City is deformed. The first step is to understand why Shanghai City is so deformed. In front of the Edward family branch, which was Gray's territory, Yejing quietly took 2 steps back and pushed Gray out. Gray didn't care and led them into the Edward building casually. In the bright and clean hall, Gray led them to the front desk. Fortunately, there are still people at the front desk, maybe the second wave of platform beauties after the shift. Gray stepped forward and knocked on the table gently. Like a second-generation ancestor, he looked at the pretty girl at the front desk very frivolously and said, "Who is the biggest in the company now?" The beautiful woman at the front desk was playing with her mobile phone with her head down. She didn't expect that anyone would come at this time. After hearing the voice, she hurriedly put away her mobile phone, raised her head and said subconsciously in a panic, "The general manager is still here." It wasn't until she finished answering that she realized, "Who am I talking to?" She looked at Gray, then at the smiling Yejing and the slightly impatient Zhao Xingbang, and said blankly, "Who are you looking for?" Gray said with a smile, "Didn't you say that the general manager is here?" "Of course I'm looking for the general manager." "But..." The beauty at the front desk hesitated, "Do you have an appointment?" "Of course I don't have an appointment. If I had an appointment, would I still be here with you?" Gray shook his head and said, "There is no appointment. Just call your general manager and tell him that Gray Edward is here. Edward. Although the beauty at the front desk didn't know who Gray was, she knew what Edward was. Isn't it Edward where she works? Oh, I got it, please wait a moment. The beautiful woman at the front desk realized that a big shot might be here and hurriedly contacted the general manager. General manager, there is a gentleman named Gray Edward who wants to see you. Gray. Where are they? It's downstairs, do you want them to go up? That's not right, I'll come down personally. As soon as the phone call was made, everyone heard it. Gray grabbed the phone from the beautiful woman at the front desk and said to the other side, I'm Gray. There's no need to waste time. Just tell me where you are and I'll go there now. Maud is worthy of being the second-generation ancestor. This unquestionable tone comes as he says it, and there is no sense of violation at all. Young master, I'm in the general manager's office on the 12th floor. Snap. Gray hung up the phone and pouted at Yejing and Zhao Xingba behind him. 12th floor, let's go. After following Gray into the elevator, Zhao Xingba kept muttering impatiently from behind. If I had known about such ink stains, I wouldn't have come out with you. Hey, I thought I was going out to play, but I didn't expect that I was actually going to work. It's better to go out and have a good time and have a good time. You have to find something to do for yourself late at night. Are you sick? It's better to be a bodyguard for Sister Qinglian. The muttering voice gave Yejing a headache, and he said angrily, are you a bodyguard for Xiao Qinglian or is Xiao Qinglian a bodyguard for you? Even if I'm not a bodyguard, it's better to be a bag carrier than running around with you. Do you still need to carry a bag if you have space equipment? But yes, if a few beautiful girls go out without a man around them, they will be looked down upon. If there are no licking dogs around, are they still beautiful girls? However, Zhao Xingbang is not a licker. At least after being taught a few lessons by Xiao Qinglian, he already regards Xiao Qinglian as his eldest sister. Xiao Qinglian is also very satisfied with her useless little brother. No, she might regard Yejing and the other three as her younger brothers. After all, she is an old lady who has lived for 2 generations. Haha, I can only say this in my heart. Once Xiao Qinglian knows that others criticize her age, she will go berserk. The elevator leads directly to the 12th floor. The entire 12th floor is already empty. There are not a few lights or people in sight. It seems that everyone has already got off work. The general manager is still in the company at this time, so diligent. Entering the 12th floor, Gray wandered around as if he had returned to his own home. When he saw the general manager's office, he pushed open the door and entered. Opening the door, a burst of air freshener and mixed perfume instantly hit your nostrils, mixed with the smell of red wine. In an instant, they all understood. Sure enough, this general manager is really diligent. In the office, a greasy middle-aged man stood respectfully. Even wearing formal clothes, he couldn't hide his beer belly. The horizon on his forehead was a little sunken. The old middle-aged man's face was red, and his expression showed a trace of shame. Obviously, he was playing some tricks in his office, but he didn't expect to be caught by the son of his boss's boss, which made him very nervous. Could he be fired? Seeing this general manager, Yejing, and the others were a little bit unbelievable, and their eyes were almost wide. That's it? Such a middle-aged man who looked like a social animal was actually the general manager of the Edward family's Shanghai City branch? Is he a good-for-nothing, or can't judge a person by his appearance? Yejing sensed the strength of this general manager, which was very ordinary. It was only the 9th level of the human realm. This kind of strength either means someone behind him, or he is really talented in management. Well, welcome young Master Gray. I am Wang Daban, the general manager of the Shanghai City branch. Well, the name is very simple. If he hadn't set up such an office play, Gray and the others would have thought that he was a diligent and honest man. Gray glanced around the huge office, and finally turned his eyes to the door of the lounge on the right, and said lightly, "Let her go out." General Manager Wang Daban showed a trace of embarrassment on his face, turned his head and shouted at the door of the lounge. "Xiaohong, go out and pour us a cup of tea."